Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Tony here from Italian Dual Citizenship Assistance. And today's video is something truly special. And honestly, it's something I've been looking forward to for a long time. I'm incredibly excited to introduce you to Mr. Arturo Grasso, one of the top attorneys in all of Italy when it comes to Italian citizenship by descent. Now, you may have heard from other attorneys here on YouTube, but trust me, I would contend that you have not heard from someone on the level of Mr. Grasso. He's widely recognized as one of the most respected legal minds in this space, and his insight is incredibly valuable when it comes to the current law and your options moving forward. Now, our conversation ran for about an hour and a half, so I'm going to break it up into installments. And today's video is the first of the series, and in this episode, we're diving straight into some of the biggest questions on everyone's mind, especially for those blocked by the new law. In today's video, we'll be talking about options for those affected by the minor issue. We'll be talking about the 2-generational limit now imposed under the new law and what to do about that. And we'll also get Mr. Grasso's thoughts on the future of 1948 cases in the courts. Now, if you've been affected by any of these changes or you're feeling stuck and unsure what to do next, then you're definitely going to want to watch this video all the way through. Now, one important note before we begin, Mr. Grasso receives a huge number of inquiries every month, and his firm can only take a limited number of cases. For that reason, they strongly prefer to work with clients who are already somewhere further along in their case, ideally with documents in hand showing their eligibility, etc. So if you're just getting started or still figuring out if you qualify, his preference, as you'll hear in the interview, is to reach out to me first for an initial consultation. I can help you understand whether you're eligible and your options, as well as map out your best path forward, and even assist in gathering some of the necessary documents to help you get to the point where an attorney like Mr. Grasso can discuss your case with you and assist you with filing. All right, now let's get into it. Today, I'm honored to be joined by one of the leading voices in Italian citizenship law, Arturo Grasso. Born in Germany to Neapolitan parents and now based in Italy, Arturo brings deeply international perspective to his work. He's the founder of My Lawyer in Italy, a boutique law firm that's been helping international clients navigate citizenship, inheritance, and property law for over a decade. Arturo is widely recognized as a trusted expert in Italian citizenship by descent. He currently serves on the ethics board of the Italian Lawyers Association of Rome for citizenship. He's also a passionate advocate for the rights of Italian descendants. And I am extremely grateful to have him here today to help us clarify some of the big questions surrounding the new citizenship law. Welcome, Arturo.
Grazie, Tony. Grazie. You know more than me about myself. And I believe I also bring the energy of an immigrant. I was born in Germany. I mean, I'm just like any one of you. And I know what it feels like. And I was born in Germany, as you said, and from two immigrants' parents. So I really know what we're talking about. And yes, I'm fighting the battle. It's a war right now. It's a big war because it's a bunch of attorneys, citizenship attorneys, that are, fighting against the government right now. There's no conscience and in the Italian population, in the Italian people living in Italy about what's going on. But the strange thing is that every family has someone abroad, has some connection with people that left the country, maybe ancestors or cousins or uncles. So they're not totally aware of what's going on. And that's one of the communication we are working at in order to make people more, even in Italy, aware. Right now, it's a battle against you, the attorneys, and the government, the Italian government.
Well, many people are, and I'm sure you're seeing it as well. I run a large Facebook group as well as this YouTube channel with many views and followers on these videos. And there are three big things that people are asking about a lot with this new law. They're asking about how it affects 1948 cases, what happens if they're blocked by the minor issue and whether they can apply through a great grandparent. So I'd love to definitely get your take on that.
Those are not easy questions. The reason
Sure.
being that no, the problem is that the new law version, the way it has been converted, is really not intelligible. It's really complex to understand what they really mean and the way they want
Yes.
it. The original version was somehow easier, but right now it's really complicated. There's already been an instruction from the Ministry of the Interior at the end of May, and by reading it, it really doesn't make anything much clearer. It's still complex to understand. We need to wait for further instructions to clarify the way they mean it. A law would be better, and we need case precedents. So we need precedent, go to court, challenge that, and say what happens. Because the law makes this kind of discrimination. Born in Italy, born abroad. So first discrimination is same parent, Italian parent. You still start from the same Italian parent. So the parent is the same, but you born abroad. So that's the first discrimination. Then were you born in a birthplace citizenship country? Because that's the second condition. You have to be born abroad and have another citizenship.
It really seems like Italy is creating all these different classes of citizens. You've got the division between born in Italy, born outside of Italy, and then you have further divisions now within the born outside of Italy crowd. You've got this citizenship by birth, the per nascita versus the per acquisito. So they're further divided depending on whether or not they filed before or after the deadline. So it's like this dividing
Yeah,
down of
yeah.
people.
I mean, because they aim was to cut off this big population in America, South America, North and South America. So in Brazil, Argentina, US, they're all birthplace citizenship countries. They target that kind of population. So be born abroad, and another citizenship, which in most US, Brazil, it's by birth, that cuts them off. Really, it's a lot of discrimination. It is. So everyone else that does not fit in the current system, laws framework, they need to challenge the case before the Constitutional Court. So you go to court, you file a case to the judge, 4 generations, for instance, and we say, okay, then 4 generations, we start from a great grandparent, and why should the judge says, but you do not fit in the law, and say, yes, judge, but this law is unconstitutional. We need either to send it yourself to the constitutional law or just wait a while until the Constitutional Court makes a decision of whether this law fits or does not with the Constitution, Italian Constitution.
So obviously you feel strongly that there should and will be legal challenges, constitutional challenges. What do you think about 1948 cases? Do you think 1948 cases are still going to happen? Are they still necessary to deal with the 1948 law scenario?
I think yes, a judge will confirm the precedent and say, yeah, I mean, she was not eligible at the time, but just because of being a woman. Now we need to wait instruction from and the consulate website to see if they change approach and say, yeah, I mean, whether you have a grandmother or grandfather, no matter when she became, if she was born, when she was born, and no matter when the child was born, you can apply with us. If they say that,
Right.
but in reality, now consulate, the only reason why they're not open is because they are confused, because they do not
Yeah,
know how
right.
to interpret this
They
law.
don't know how to interpret.
I met this morning a clerk in a commune, and they said we had the interpretation from the ministry that the one at the end of May, but it's still unintelligible, not understandable, doesn't make anything clearer. They have no clue where to go. So right now, but they went down to 1% of eligibility, maybe even less, from what it was 2 months ago. So most probably the consulate, dealing with the female, a grandmother born how many cases would there be of grandmother born before 1948 passing,
Certainly far
citizenship to
fewer.
child? Very few cases. So they would take it much, probably. But they need instruction. They need to clear this out and write it clearly and say what happened. We need to wait, instruction, practice the way they want to put it, and presidents, because we fought so many cases, and that's what we're waiting to see from this president what's going on, how they're going to end up. And especially what we're waiting is the Constitutional Court, the hearing of the 24th, and I believe a later hearing is necessary.
So I would imagine then you would say the same applies to speaking about the minor issue. There's nothing in the new law that specifically addresses this point, but really, like so many things in this law, we're waiting for clarification. Then the the circular comes out, and it seems to maybe plug up some of the holes that look like loopholes, but still there's a lot that's unclear about how they really intend. So we need like implementation guidelines. We need to see how the consulates actually interpret some of this. And I assume it's your answer would be the same with regard to the minor issue. It remains to be seen if they continue to implement it in the same way they've done post October 3rd.
Tony, to be honest with you, my thought is that I think they made it with AI, this law. They made it just like this, and now they have to deal with it. They made it, they liked it, they said that's a good way. Looks like a math formula to exclude people. It looks like it works, but now it's to execute it, to put it into practice. It's really, they have no clue. I think they have no clue. We also, because we do not know the way they want to intend that. To us, to me today, I if I have a client, it's great to have a client with two generations, with a grandmother exclusively Italian who died or did not die, that still are today exclusively with Italian citizenship. If that's the case, I think that's all the condition I need today. The only reason to go to court is because there's no appointment possible. There's no possibility to get approved, to get recognized. Because differently, she should go to the counselor. So I go to court, hey, judge, I met all the conditions. I must be approved. But what about all the remaining? There are 99% out there which have been not only disqualified, they've been deprived of their Italian citizenship. I was in a conference in Pavia on the 23rd, the same day the citizenship law passed. And what was mentioned was that people went to sleep on the 27th. And they knew they were working because they knew they were a citizen. And they only had to bring the proof, the evidence. That was it. And they wake up the next morning and everything was canceled. And that's that. So for the remaining 99, my approach is go to court and fight, because this is unconstitutional. I mean, they disqualify, they deprive, they made this for political reason, and it's clearly written. They try to fix something that big hole that they had in the citizenship that the government thought they have, but in reality they are all Italian citizens, and that's our heritage. That's really what we have, as in Italy. They just slam the door and that's it. But I think this is going to be fixed by the Constitutional Court. So you go to court and we ask, judge, this law is unconstitutional. You can either decide not to apply it, and because it's impossible to deprive people from their citizenship right, iuris sanguinis, or send it to the Constitutional Court. So that's my perspective today.
So the law says if you had an appointment scheduled or a case filed, that the old laws will apply to you before the deadline. But for those who we're actively working on it, spending money, taking all these steps, do you think there's a legal grounds to argue for them as well that they should be grandfathered under the old law?
This is a perspective where you still look at the decree law like something that brings some principle that might be effective. Like, I already made an appointment. I already did something to
Mhm.
prove. Was this required? Is this really required? I mean, people were born with Italians. The, the basic ground is that people were already born. So do they really need to show something? Well, tell me what I need to show, and say you have to do something in a year time, or you have to apply next year. But you can't just apply and that's it. And I need to make up a reason for getting back to you and say, well, I was working at that. Why you can't deprive me? I think they should. It's just the way they did it. It's wrong. They cannot deprive overnight and put condition like this. It's funny to read. I expect the judge from the Constitutional Court laughing or smiling at least when they read 59 the hours 20 on March 27 at 23:59 minutes in a law. What's that? Is that a bid? What's that? Are we gambling? What are we doing? It's a law. So you can't just say overnight and then up to that minute and then it's over. Because that's people that were already citizens by birth because their father or their mother or whatever was Italian at the time, and they cannot be deprived like this. Now, it might be brought in by a judge as a precedent. If that becomes a precedent, maybe something which is useful. But I believe that they really need to come out with a different law. And this is, again, what I expect from the Constitutional Court to say, or to mention at least in the next hearing that there's a case pending. And I expect something them to say, give some guidelines or some more instructions or information at the time. But
Got it.
again, go back to your question. It's something which might be brought in court and expect the judge to become a president by challenging it before the court, a judge, then the Court of Appeal, and maybe in the highest court of Italy, the Cassazione, and that becomes a president to show commitment of a person. But I don't think that anyone should be discriminated, wanted to become. They should find something different to decide whether these people to show interest in citizenship. It can't be just something like that.
Got it. That's a great perspective. And just to summarize, it sounds like you're saying basically my question gives too much respect to this law. By if we start looking at, can we fight it with this little element, it sounds like your point is that this whole thing needs to really seriously be looked at and challenged under the Constitutional Court and through this process rather than us. We're sort of playing along by trying to argue that
Yeah, yeah, we're getting
we
along with
had
law.
this
I mean, we're following
document
the
at this
track.
date, right? So you don't want us to
Yeah,
fall into that playing along with this game that they've created.
yeah. There's
Okay.
no discrimination difference between people. They all the same way. Some were willing. So what about people from 1948 cases? They never knew. Some people just they went to the council, they tried, but they knew that it was impossible, and they know just recently. So they started so late, or they knew tomorrow. Why should these people be discriminated like this? They all
So
Italian.
it sounds like people have kind of two choices at this point: to come forward to find an attorney such as yourself and file a case challenging the new law, or wait and see what happens with other cases that are challenging, as well as some things that are on the books, such as this constitutional court hearing on the 24th of June. What advice would you give to people who are trying to make that decision? Many clients that I've
Hmm.
spoken with are in that exact place. Do you see a strong advantage to coming forward? I know other attorneys have suggested that filing as many cases as possible really puts pressure on the system, makes it much more likely that we'll get some elevated to the constitutional court level more quickly. what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
yeah. My experience tells me that it's better to file in court than not. That's experience. It tells me that. Why? Minor case, for instance, the minor case. So many people did not try, but those who tried, maybe a part of them were rejected. Some they escalated to the Court of Appeals. Initially, the Court of Appeal of Rome, there were two different panels. One said yes, the other one said no. No. So the ones that went in the right panel, they were approved, and they got their citizenship now. Even though when we moved from the Court of Rome in the local court, initially, people didn't want to file because they said we should see what the local court think. But those who filed in the court of Palermo were all approved. Those who filed in the court of L'Aquila were all approved. In Turin, even. But later on, when there was the Constitutional Court in 2023, June, they start rejecting. So again, it's a chance. Better being in and out. And now, there were some cases before the highest court, and there's a change in approach. At least they put him back a hearing in a public hearing because they were heard initially. They were heard in the chamber, but now they put in a public hearing because they're going to change most probably approach. Already the prosecutor already changed the approach, and they said the attorney are right. That's either Italian law at the time of 1912 was protecting minors. So again, whoever filed or appeared, they had a better chance. This is one perspective. The other thing is that because the government approach is so aggressive, if you look at the last year, there was the minor case, and they sent the instruction in October saying that the minor case also applies with the consulate. They apply the same ruling with the consulate and comune. So in the past, they never had the same approach. 1948 case never had the same approach than the civil court. But all of a sudden, they liked the minor case approach because it was disqualifying people and reducing the amount of pressure. So they took it, they said, oh, we like this one, and they take it. And then later on, at the end of the year, to make it harder, they put it 600 euros for petitioner court cost. And we had such a small window to file cases, and it wasn't possible. That's my experience. So today, if I should say, what's the difference, I would file. But people may, not like the risk, wait for the better opportunity. But what I expect, if the Constitutional Court changed something and break some rules or some words in the text and law text, I don't think there would be a long window to change it, because there's one fear that was mentioned already by some scholars, that the government could suspend the application, and that would be very the real complication. So let's say we have a decision from the Constitutional Court. They do not know which way to go. They see that everything was broke down in pieces, and they say, what we do, we suspend the application. That's another complication. That's why I say, to me, my suggestion, I'm a bit risk taker. I would say 5. That's my perspective.
So were you feeling like we would have had more success? By we, I mean all of those opposing the minor issue. There would have been more success challenging that had there been more cases filed in a prompt manner following the circular.
I've always been very transparent with clients, telling what's on stake, what the chances, one chances, the other one. And some people wanted to move forward. Those people who moved forward were, notwithstanding the rejection, notwithstanding the high court decision, which are in Italy only precedent, not case law. The Cassazione, the third level of justice, which is sometimes called the Supreme Court in Italy. But their decisions are just precedent, not case law. the Constitutional Court makes case law. So they filed, notwithstanding there were two decisions. Well, one decision was in June 2023 and one was in 2024. But those claims were filed after that. They have a chances now to be approved if the Cassation is going to change their approach. So that's again another example where fighting and challenging and fighting for your right may turn out to be the best option.
Okay, Arturo. So clients that are interested in your services, who feel like they want to challenge the law, who have 1948 cases potentially, or who are coming into this and they don't know where they stand, they're just starting out. What advice would you have for them as their first step?
To get a little bit ahead, to have more information about the case, so it may come to you and say, to complete more documentation because of so many inquiries that we have every month. We cannot deal with all of them, and we will only pick those who are reasonably instructed. They have information. They have, but if they have documentation, we feel they're ready. We can already start discussing together and take the case. Otherwise, we cannot, because as much as we love to provide information, but when it's too far away, and there will be really too much information for us to deal with them and bring to the point that we can take them on. So they normally need to come to us with more information and at least the basic documentation that prove their eligibility connection to the ancestor. So,
Yes, thank you so much for saying that, Arturo. This is the way that we've been working together. Many people may not know this, but I have been taking new clients. I have these affordable consultations that are available. I help people understand how all of this works, what type of case they may have, how best to go about it. And many people require an Italian attorney. And so I refer them on to a great Italian attorney such as yourself. So if people can book a consultation with me, come in, get going, I can help them understand where their eligibility lies, and I can help them even begin to gather documents and come to you a little bit further down the road, a little more advanced, ready to go, so that you're not starting from scratch with them. That's better for you. That's better for the client. That's better for everybody.
And it's important that someone understands which document we need, because there are different documents that sometimes consulate need from the attorney. Because some clients come to us and they say, we have the documents, and we must say, well, that's not really what we need. We need something different. Or they have issues in their documents they cannot see that that someone, our people knows, and that they need to fix before we can get to court. It's not straightforward.
That's a great point. There's often much more work to do after the documents are gathered, dealing with discrepancies. And unfortunately, far too often, I have people order documents that cost a lot of money and take a lot of time, like some of the documents from the U.S. Customs and Immigration, the Cone document, and they wind up, they don't understand.
So frequently.
They need to reorder them because they didn't do it right the first time.
And that's a waste of time. A long waste of time.
A big waste of time.
So long to get another one, and that does make sense. Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, it's better to have professional advice on also procuring documentation, especially when we need that for the court.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
I look forward to yes.
Yeah,
I look forward to our continued partnership and helping as many people as possible navigate this process successfully and achieve their dream and their goal of Italian citizenship. So great speaking with you today, Arturo. I'm very
My pleasure, Tony.
honored to have your expertise, and it's been really great. So thank you to you and your whole team for putting this together. Grazie mille.
All right, grazie. Ciao.
Buona giornata. Ciao.
Grazie anche a te. Ciao, Tony.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the first installment of my interview with Arturo Grasso. We'll dive deeper into these topics as well as some new ones in the future videos in this interview series. If you would like to book and affordable 20, 30, or 60-minute consultation, as you just heard Mr. Grasso and I discussing at the end of the interview. You can do so on my website at italiandual.com. And I look forward to speaking with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.